Rain fell softly over the small town of Millbrook, tapping against the windows of a diner that stayed open long after the rest of the street had gone dark. Elena Voss wiped down the counter for the third time, though it was already clean. Her hands needed something to do. They always did, these days, when her mind refused to settle. 6 months had passed since she left the Blackthorn pack. 6 months of looking over her shoulder, of flinching at every stranger who lingered too long near her table, of forcing her wolf into silence so no one would sense what she was. She had built a small, quiet life here, a life without pack politics, without fear, without him. She should have known it would not last. The bell above the diner door rang, sharp and sudden, cutting through the hum of the refrigerator and the drizzle outside. Elena did not need to look up to know who had walked in. She felt it in her bones, in the way the air seemed to thicken, in the way her wolf went still and alert beneath her skin. Only one person carried that kind of presence. Only one person made a room feel smaller just by entering it. Damien Blackthorn stood in the doorway, rain clinging to his dark coat, his eyes finding her instantly across the empty diner. He did not smile. He did not soften. His jaw was tight, his shoulders squared like a man who had come to finish something long overdue. "Elena," he said, and her name in his mouth sounded like both a memory and a warning. She set down the cloth slowly. Running would do nothing now. He had found her, and there was no version of tonight where she simply slipped out the back and disappeared again. She had tried that once. It had cost her everything she had left. "You shouldn't be here," she said, keeping her voice steady even as her heart pounded. "And you shouldn't have run," he answered, stepping further inside, letting the door swing shut behind him. "Do you know what happened after you left? Do you know what your little escape cost my pack?" Elena's stomach twisted. She did know. She had heard whispers even from her hiding place, carried on the wind, the way pack news always traveled among wolves who could not fully sever their bonds. 3 warriors dead. An ambush from the Crimson Moon pack, executed with precision that suggested inside knowledge. And her name, whispered as the reason why. "I did not betray you," she said quietly. Damien's laugh was hollow, humorless. "Everyone else believes otherwise. My advisors believe otherwise. The families of the wolves who died certainly believe otherwise. You vanished the same night the ambush happened. What was I supposed to think?" "That maybe," Elena said, her voice trembling now, "the Omega who never had power in your pack, who was never trusted with real secrets, might not be the only person capable of causing harm." His eyes narrowed. "Careful." "I have been careful my whole life," Elena snapped, surprising herself with the sudden heat in her chest. "Careful not to speak out of turn. Careful not to draw attention. Careful not to be seen as anything more than the quiet Omega who kept her head down. And it still was not enough to keep me safe from being blamed for something I did not do." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the roof, filling the silence between them. "Then explain it to me," Damien said finally, his voice lower now, though no less demanding. "Explain why you left in the middle of the night, without a word, the same hour my warriors were slaughtered." Elena's hands curled into fists at her sides. This was the moment she had rehearsed 100 times in her mind during sleepless nights, and yet now that it had arrived, the words felt too large for her throat. "Because I was afraid," she admitted. "Because someone made sure I would be afraid. Because someone wanted me gone before anyone could ask the right questions." "Who?" She hesitated only a second longer before reaching for the cuff of her long sleeve. Her fingers trembled as she unbuttoned it, folding the fabric back to reveal her wrist. There, faint but unmistakable beneath the diner's dim light, was a healing mark, not fresh, but not old enough to have faded completely, a mark that any wolf would recognize instantly for what it was. Damien's entire body went rigid, his eyes fixed on the mark, and something shifted in his expression, confusion giving way to disbelief. "That is a mating mark," he said slowly, as though saying it aloud might make it less true. "You have never taken a mate." "I did not choose this," Elena said, her voice breaking now that the truth was finally spilling free. "It was forced on me, the same night as the ambush. I was cornered before I could even reach my room. I fought, but he was stronger, and by the time I understood what was happening, it was already done." "Who did this to you?" Damien's voice had dropped into something dangerous, something that made the windows seem to rattle even without wind. Elena met his eyes, and for the first time in 6 months, she did not look away. Corwin. The name hit the room like a physical blow. Damien's beta, his oldest friend, the wolf who had stood beside him since they were both pups learning to shift for the first time, who had fought beside him in every battle, who Damien trusted with his life and the lives of everyone in the pack. That is not possible, Damien said, though his voice lacked conviction now. Corwin has served me for 10 years. He would not. He marked me so that if anyone ever questioned where the leaked information came from, it would trace back to an Omega with a mysterious new mate, not to your most trusted beta, Elena said. He knew no one would believe me over him. He knew that even if I told the truth, I would be dismissed as a liar trying to escape punishment. So I ran instead, because staying meant waiting to be blamed for a crime I did not commit, with no one willing to hear my side. Damien's hands had curled into fists, his knuckles white, his jaw clenched so tightly that a muscle jumped beneath his skin. He stared at the mark on her wrist as though trying to will it into being something else, anything else, other than proof of the deepest betrayal he could imagine. Why would he do this, he said, more to himself than to her. Why would he sell out the pack? Why would he ruin an innocent woman's life to do it? I do not know his reasons, Elena said softly. I only know what happened to me. I know I spent 6 months alone, terrified, wondering if I would ever be able to return home, wondering if you would ever believe me even if I tried to explain. Damien looked up at her then, and something in his gaze had changed entirely. The fury that had carried him through the door, the cold determination to drag her back and see her punished, had drained away, replaced by something rawer, guilt, regret, the dawning horror of a leader who realized he had almost destroyed the one person telling him the truth. I came here to punish you, he admitted quietly. I convinced myself you were the traitor, because it was easier than accepting that someone closer to me might be responsible. I did not want to believe that Corwin could do something like this, so I let my anger point somewhere safer. Somewhere it would not have to face him. Elena's eyes filled with tears she had been holding back for months. I needed you to believe me, she whispered. Not tonight, 6 months ago, when it mattered most. I know, Damien said, and the words seemed to cost him something. I failed you. I let my trust in him blind me to what was right in front of me. He crossed the small distance between them, stopping just before her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, despite the chill of the rainy night outside. His hand rose, hesitating for a moment, before gently taking hers, his thumb brushing carefully over the mark on her wrist, as though he could somehow undo the pain it represented, simply by acknowledging it. This will be dealt with, he said, his voice firm again, though gentler now than before. Corwin will answer for everything he has done, to the pack, to you. I will call for his detainment tonight, and I will make certain the truth is known to everyone, so that your name is cleared completely. And if no one believes it, even now? Elena asked, old fears rising despite the relief flooding through her. They will believe it, Damien said, because I will stand beside you when I tell them. My word carries the pack, and this time I will use it to protect you, not to condemn you. For the first time since he had walked through the door, Elena allowed herself to believe him, not because his words were perfect, but because of the way he said them, steady and sure, the way a king spoke when he intended to keep a promise, regardless of the cost. I want to be there, she said, when he answers for what he has done. I want to look him in the eye when the truth comes out. You will be, Damien said. I promise you that. Outside, the rain had begun to soften, the storm passing as quickly as it had arrived. Elena took a slow breath, feeling something in her chest loosen for the first time in half a year. The fear that had followed her every day since she fled was still there, but it no longer stood alone. Beside it now was something steadier, something that felt, cautiously, like hope. Damien did not let go of her hand. Come home, he said quietly, not as someone accused, not as someone punished. Come home as someone I should have protected from the very beginning. Elena looked down at their joined hands, at the mark still visible on her wrist, a reminder of everything that had gone wrong, and at the man standing before her now, a reminder that some things could still be made right. "Take me home," she said finally, her voice steady despite everything. Damien nodded, and for the first time that night, something like relief crossed his features. He guided her gently toward the door, pausing only to make a single call, his voice low and commanding, as he ordered Corwin's immediate detainment before the pack could be alerted to anything else. When he ended the call, he turned back to Elena, his expression softening once more. "Whatever happens next," he said, "you will not face it alone, not this time." Elena managed a small, tired smile, the first genuine one she had allowed herself in months. "Neither will you," she said. Together, they stepped out into the cool night air, the rain reduced now to a light mist settling over the quiet town. Behind them, the diner lights flickered off one by one as the owner locked up for the night, unaware of the truth that had just been uncovered within its walls. Ahead of them lay a long road back to the pack, back to accusations that would need to be answered, and a betrayal that would need to be confronted. But for the first time in a long while, Elena did not feel like she was walking toward punishment. She felt like she was walking toward justice, and beside her, finally, stood someone willing to fight for it too.